Time now to roar down the straight stretches of Tennessee with IHRA drag racing.
Drag racing is brought to you by Santa Pod Raceway.
In the annals of drag racing, few can match the track record of King Kenny Bernstein, one of the most successful and innovative quarter-milers of all time. Through the decade of the 80s, Bernstein's shadow spread across the Nitro Funny Car class, winning title after title and setting new standards for low time and high speed. In 1990, Bernstein brought the colors of the Budweiser King to drag racing's glamour class, Top Fuel. He opened the 1991 International Hot Rod Association season with a victory at the All-Pro Auto Parts Winter Nationals. Today, in legendary Thunder Valley, Bernstein faces the toughest field of the season. Fellow Texan Gene Snow, the two-time IHRA Top Fuel World Champion. From Delaware, Diesel John Carey, 250-mile-an-hour king of the 50-something Top Fuel pilots. And from Ohio, 1989 IHRA Top Fuel champion Pat Dakin, hoping to reclaim his world title. It's tire smoking time in Tennessee. ESPN, the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. We move on to quarterfinal action now in Top Fuel. 4,500 to maybe 5,000 horsepower to the pavement if you're good at what you do. There is a look at Jack Ostrander from Pontiac, Michigan, the number 5 qualifier. He's got a tall order on his hands. Kenny Bernstein, qualified number 4, but always a threat.
Bernstein, ever the innovator. Look at the new ground effects package on that car. No doubt a carryover from his Indianapolis race car experience, Bob.
Dale Armstrong is the crew chief for Kenny Bernstein, and you've said it, Ted, they are innovators. There is a look at Jack Ostrander backing in. Ostrander, an IHRA regular. Bernstein backing in the far lane. Notice the difference in height of those rear wings? That's a part of Kenny Bernstein's idea, to use the aerodynamic package, as you look at Jack Ostrander, to get that rear wing down and avoid blowovers. Bernstein lifts the wheels slightly as he launches, but he's got this one in the bag.
Kenny Bernstein, look at that. He T5, 18,265 and a 0.8 reaction time. Kenny is back on top.
Our next matchup, the two-time world champion Gene Snow against the youngest man in Top Fuel, Tommy Johnson Jr. Jr. with problems. Gene Snow takes it.
Gene Snow with an impressive 5.27 at 265.
Boy, he may be on his way to meet Kenny Bernstein. Now here is John Carey, Diesel John from Delaware against Pat Dakin, who smokes and breaks right off the line.
Dakin shuts it down, an easy win for John Carey. Wow, impressive, a 5.33, 267. We've got a drag race.
And here comes Eddie the Thrill Hill, crew chief, Fuzzy Carter in the yellow hat, giving that motor a real good looking over after that huge explosion in qualifying.
Hill still qualified number 1 with a 5.21, 273 miles per hour. That figure, though, has been eclipsed now by Bernstein at that 5.18 mark.
Eddie's opponent will be a bit of a surprise, Robert Reel from Anaconda, California. And Eddie smokes the tires at half-track. Reel will get the biggest victory of his career.
Hill loses a blower belt also after smoking the tires, so Reel moves into the next round with a 5.46.
By virtue of the quicker ET, Kenny Bernstein will have lane choice against Robert Reel. Gene Snow will have lane choice against John Carey. First up, Wally Stroop, one of the quickest and fastest pro modifieds you'll find anywhere. And he will be going up against one of the most controversial cars in the series, Randy Moore's supercharged Tosti Spumati Lamborghini. But right now, Stroop is the only guy at the starting line.
Well, they tell us that Moore is back in the staging lanes and he's having a lot of trouble getting the car fired up. Nicky Lawson, the crew chief right now on the Stroop Lawson entry, motioning his driver to go up in stage. Now we see Moore as he pulls up into the water box, getting ready to make the burnout. However, we're probably having some heat buildup over there in the Stroop machine. He may well elect to stage and take the tree, Bob.
Now there is a time limit. You have to get to the staging area, and it looks as though starter Jim Blakely is not going to let Randy Moore pull in, and Wally Stroop will have a walkover.
Stroop waited what he felt was a reasonable amount of time and takes an easy win at 7:14. Meanwhile, Moore will shut the car off.
Ooh, and I'm sure there's going to be some discussion about that in the pit areas. Here is the defending Pro Modified champion, Tim McAmis, and he will be going up against the ageless wonder, Ronnie Sox.
Well, you know, Sox was sticking needles into Kuhlman's car. You better worry about this guy first. The defending world champ qualified number 4 in the field. Sox qualified number 5.
Opening the door on these door slammers in order to let some air in. There's a good look at young Tim McAmis. We mentioned earlier when you saw John Montecalvo's Pro Stock car crash that it was built in Jerry Bickle's race shop. This young man works in Jerry Bickle's race shop in Moscow Mills, Missouri. Young Tim McAmis.
Sox is ever, of course, out of Burlington, North Carolina, where he built up the legendary name of the Blonde Bomber, one of the fastest men on the 4-speeds back in the early Pro Stock days. Now has advanced into this exciting new Pro Modified category with a very popular car, a 1964 Comet, just like the car he started drag racing in.
Ronnie Sox is a little bit more gray than he is blonde these days, but he'll still nail you to the tree if you're not careful. Looks like McAmis got the jump on him. They are about even at half track now. Ronnie Sox has the advantage, and he'll carry it to the finish.
Sox pulls it out with a 7:07, 198 miles per hour and a 0:19 reaction time.
Now here is Bill Kuhlman, who's already made the changes on his car, who already got a look at Robbie Vandergriff, who will be his opponent. There's Vandergriff. This is supposed to be a 57 Chevrolet, and this was a very controversial car in terms of aerodynamics as well, Ted.
They've called it a Studebaker, and obviously he's designing that in a wind tunnel too, as the innovation continues to roll on in this Pro Modified category.
Wow, we've got a lot of smoke in the right lane for Bill Kuhlman's car. It looks like he's got a problem, and he gets a little sideways on the racetrack as Vandergriff drives away.
Vandergriff with a 697, 200.12 miles per hour. Let's look at Kuhlman. That smoke probably put some oil down, and he gets completely out of shape right now. He does the wisest thing. He lifts.
Well, it's been a tough season thus far for Bill Kuhlman. Our fourth matchup will pit Scotty Cannon in the near lane up against Canadian Al Billis.
Al Billis right now, without doubt, the leader in technology in Pro Modified with a computer that is giving him a whole raft of information.
Cannon, the number 2 qualifier. Billis, already a winner this year, the number 7 qualifier. This should be a good matchup. From high above Thunder Valley, you see the cars launch. Billis gets a little squirrely on the left. They are about even at mid-track. This is a drag race, and I think Cannon wins.
Wow, Cannon pulls it out at the very last minute with a 699, 197 miles per hour. Watch the high gear charge now for Scotty Cannon as he pulls the Linko into high gear, and that's what won the race for him.
Well, count that first round then against the exposed rear wing of Al Billis. Robbie Vandergriff will have lane choice over Ronnie Sox in the next round. Scotty Cannon will have lane choice against Wally Stroop. We move on to quarterfinal action now in Pro Stock. And in the foreground, the somewhat damaged Pontiac Trans Am of John Noble.
Well, during the night of fire, Noble had just a little bit of an encounter with the guardrail there. Nothing major, but he had to put a little bit of Band-Aid on the front of it.
And here is his opponent, one of the hottest runners in Pro Stock this year. From Kermit, West Virginia, Doug Kirk.
Well, the Kirk Trucking Company Special has a 740 cubic inch Pontiac engine. Noble running 738 cubic inches of Pontiac power.
And believe it or not, those are 2 of the smallest engines in the class. The smallest is Billy Ewing's 632 cubic inch Olds power plant. This is mountain motor country, folks. It'll be John Noble against Doug Kirk. Kirk involved in that incredible crash during the Budweiser Night of Fire involving John Montecalvo. They launch. Good start for both cars. Looks like Kirk has the advantage of half track, and he takes it.
Doug Kirk with a 733, 190 miles per hour, only a 0.1 reaction time, so the kid is sharp on the lights today.
Speaking of sharp on the lights, one of the quickest starters in Pro Stock competition comes out of the bleach box, Harold Denton from Middlesex, North Carolina, in the Party Time Trans Am. In the far lane, his opponent, 3rd in the Pro Stock World Championship last year, Tim Neighbors from Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Neighbors qualified number 11 in the field in his 91 Camaro, and Harold Denton qualified number 14.
Denton is packing one of the biggest engines in the class, 747 cubic inches, and that was either a great start or a red light for Tim Neighbors, but he shuts it down. I think he knows he fouled.
He red lighted, yes he did. So Harold Denton with a 734, 189 miles per hour. He's going to be heard from Let's take one more look now at that red light start. You see Neighbors lead. There's the red light on. An easy win for Denton. As a matter of fact, this started the red light problems, Bob.
In fact, 3 of the 4 semifinal matchups decided by red lights. To the right of your screen, Harold Robinson trips the light early against Steve Williford. And in our final matchup, Billy Ewing from Snellville, Georgia, also on the right of your screen, trips up against Ricky Smith. So we look to the elapsed times of those who got down the course legally. Steve Williford will have lane choice against Doug Kirk in the semifinals. Ricky Smith will have lane choice against Harold Denton. In alcohol funny cars, we'll pick up the action in the semifinals. In the near lane, number 1, the 1990 IHRA alcohol funny car world champion, Mark Thomas out of Louisville, Ohio.
Well, that's the ethanol performance car that Brett just told us about, the corn-powered machine.
And his opponent, Scott Weiss out of Richmond, Virginia.
Scott in a 1990 Grand Prix using a 528 Keith Black engine. Mark Thomas using a 526 cubic inch Keith Black engine in an 87 Dodge Daytona body.
Of course, drag racers everywhere are mourning the recent passing of legendary engine builder Keith Black after a long battle with cancer out in California. Up come the RPM in these alcohol-burning machines. Weiss is stayed to the left. Thomas is staged. They're away. Good start for Weiss as he bounces those front wheels, and he's going to have to lift.
Mark Thomas picks up an easy win with a 6.42, 221 miles per hour. Let's look one more time at Scott Weiss coming off that concrete pad, the car jumping up and down, doing little mini wheel stands. He finally just had to lift and shut it down in the interest of safety.
Now here is Larry Dobbs in the Cardiac Kids Pontiac Trans Am. We can't pass up this opportunity to show you one of the best races of the weekend. In the far lane, fellow Canadian Doug Hearsom. This was in the first round. Watch these 2 guys go to the line.
There was only 1/1000th of a second difference after considering reaction time in this run you just saw. We're going to look at it now frame by frame and show you the difference between 221 and 215 miles per hour. Watch Dobbs' path in literally the last 3 feet.
Incredible drag race, and we expect even better stuff now as Terry Mullins gets a launch. Looked like Larry Dobbs had a little trouble in the far lane. Mullins will drive away as Dobbs struggles to get that car under control.
Mullins with a 6.37, 219 miles per hour. He'll move into the final round against Mark Thomas.
Here's another look. Watch the right lane, and you'll see Larry Dobbs get almost sideways, gets off the center line, and has to lift. By virtue of 5/100ths of a second in better ET, Terry Mullins will have lane choice against Mark Thomas in the alcohol funny car final.
Coming up, Formula One in review with Inside Track at 10.
From
Drag racing, born in America, very much alive at Center Pond.
Drag racing is brought to you by Santa Pond Raceway.
Welcome back to Bristol International Dragway in Bristol, Tennessee. We're ready for semifinal action in Top Fuel, and here comes the snowman, Gene Snow.
Snow hailing from Fort Worth, Texas, running a 500 cubic inch Keith Black engine, 2-time IHRA world champion, up against Diesel John.
Killing mosquitoes all the way down to that 60-foot mark. Diesel John Carey, trucking company owner from Dover, Delaware. In his 50s now, but still able to get it done. And it's all reactions in drag racing. His opponent, Gene Snow, is no spring chicken either. Snow has been in 16 IHRA Top Fuel Finals and has won 14 of them. There you see the Snowman in his new sponsorship livery this year.
Well, that sponsorship caused the car to change colors from black and white to red and white. Mopar Performance Parts and Williams Telecommunications. John Kerry, on the other hand, sponsored by the Race Against Drugs program.
Lots of visible exhaust from those headers in this very humid air in Thunder Valley. Good launch for both cars, but Carey goes up in smoke in the far lane.
An easy win for Gene Snow at 533, 242 miles per hour.
There is the radical aerodynamic setup for Kenny Bernstein. Crew Chief Dale Armstrong and the crew looking on. As they prepare for their run in the semifinals of Top Fuel, they'll be going up against the Cinderella story right there in the black car, Robert Reel from Anaconda, California, who knocked off Eddie Hill in the first round. Good lead for both cars, but smoke from the near lane. Reel's day is done. Kenny Bernstein will meet Gene Snow.
Bernstein just keeps on coming. A 524, 264 miles per hour to advance into the finals,
where he will have lane choice over Gene Snow in a matchup of former world champions. And we move on to semifinal action in Pro Modified. Here comes Wally Stroop in the Lawson and Stroop Chevrolet Beretta. Number 1 in World Championship points coming in. He's been getting closer and closer to that 200-mile-an-hour barrier. In the left lane, his opponent, Scotty Cannon, in that red and yellow, wild-looking 40 Chevy.
The thing on Wally Stroop's mind right now has to be Scotty Cannon's previous round run of 699. Stroop has not been in the sixes yet. He's got to be worried a lot about that.
The whole story in drag racing is who gets there first. You can go 500 miles an hour down the strip if you want to, but you've got to get there ahead of the other guy. We've seen some great high gear charges today, and this looks like another great matchup. Wally Stroop had a shot at the all-time Pro Mod ET and speed records in our most recent round at Atco, New Jersey, but he wasn't able to back it up. Now he goes up against one of the toughest cars in the class, Scotty Cannon. Cannon stages, they are away. Good start for Stroop on the right of your screen. Cannon lifts the front wheels and drives around him. Very close, but Cannon takes it.
Wow, what a race. Scotty Cannon, 701, 196 miles per hour. So he actually slowed down just a little bit. We'll look one more time at it. You'll see the top end charge. It's nose to nose. You can throw a blanket over the pair of them. Now all of a sudden Cannon shifts to high gear, pulls it out by half a car length.
Going to be tough to beat that matchup, but here comes Ronnie Sox in the far lane up against Rob Vandergriff in that radical Chevy in only the second race for this car.
This is the battle of the shoeboxes, a 64 Mercury Comet against a 57 Chevy.
From high above the start line, the RPMs come up. Ronnie Sox gets a little bit sideways off the launch. Pretty straight run for Vandergriff. Let's watch him to the line. Wow, Ronnie Sox loses out by the narrowest of margins to Rob Vandergriff.
You're not going to believe this, Bob. Rob Vandergriff, a 703 with a 6. Ronnie Sox, a 703 with a 7.
And this place is going bonkers. These folks know a good drag race when they see one, and it doesn't get any closer than this.
The reaction times were both .147. This has got to be the closest race in the history of IHRA, and right there it is. Look at this, frame by frame. That's what 1/1000th of a second looks like on top end.
Well, by 24 1/1000ths of a second, Robbie Vandergriff gives up lane choice to Scotty Cannon in the Pro Modified final. That should be a great race. Ready now for semifinal action in Pro Stock. Our first matchup will feature Steve Williford in the car that took Tommy Mooney to the Pro Stock Championship last year up against this man, the Oldsmobile of Doug Kirk.
Kirk hails from Kermit, West Virginia, and he's actually one of those second-generation drag racers. Carl Kirk got him started driving.
Kirk's second in the championship last year to Tommy Mooney, and once again in the car that Steve Williford is driving. Ironic twist here in the semifinals at the IHRA Springnationals. Kirk comes to the staging lanes. Now Williford's there. Up come the RPM. They are away. Good start for Williford, who gets a little sideways under power, but he's got a car length over Kirk and will hold it to the finish.
Williford with a 7.34 ET. Kirk had a quicker 7.30, so he was out of the box first. Look how big a hole shot this is for Williford. You see the car lift way early and leave the line. That's a .02 reaction time. Now look at the difference on top end. Kirk had a .113 reaction time and was a full 0.04 of a second quicker.
Well, speaking of quick starts in the near lane, the master, Ricky Smith, up against Harold Denton. No slouch himself. Good lead for Denton. I think he got Ricky Smith off the line, and you don't see that very often. Denton wins.
It's going to be reaction time again. Denton with a 7.37. Ricky with a quicker 7.33. Watch this hole shot. Wow. Did he catch Ricky asleep or what? Not really. Denton cut an unrealistic .004. Unheard of. He probably took a shot on the tree.
And so Harold Denton and the crew will ready for the final in Pro Stocks. Steve Williford will have lane choice against Harold Denton. We are ready for the finals in Top Fuel, and here comes the two-time world champion, Gene Snow, boiling the tires down to the 60-foot mark, get that rubber up to racing temperature, and here comes the radical new aerodynamic package over the wheel wells and the rear parachute mount of Kenny Bernstein.
Well, this could be a real race of the day right here. Snow ran a 5:27, then he ran a 5:33. Bernstein ran a 5:18, but slowed in the last round when he defeated Robert Reel to a 5:24.
Kenny Bernstein, number 1 in IHRA World Championship points coming in. Gene Snow missed a round earlier this year, and he really needs to make up ground in the championship. Nothing would do it more for him than a victory here.
Both drivers having input from their onboard computers from the previous round, but I'll bet you Kenny Bernstein has more input. He may even have 2 or 3 computers on board since he owns the company, Racepack Computers.
Could be a case of Kenny Bernstein sold me all the computer technology I need, but he didn't sell me all the computer technology he has. Kenny's a fair and square racer, and he breaks right off the starting line. Gene Snow has the horses today, and he wins for the first time this year.
Gene Snow, consistent 5.39, 244, and I believe we saw a blower belt come off that car and bounce. Let's take one more look at it as it leaves the starting line. Keep your eyes on the blower belt.
Right at the front of the engine as Kenny puts his foot in it, whammo, it comes off like a broken rubber band.
Of course, the race was over at that point. Nothing King Kenny can do right now except wonder what happened and pull off to the side of the track. That's because he's not sure what happened. He thinks he may be dripping oil.
And so Kenny Bernstein will have to wait for another drag race here at Thunder Valley to get that first victory. We move on to Pro Modified. There you see the radical 40 Willies of Scotty Cannon, and there in only its second national event, Rob Vandergrift's 57 Chevy. Well, you can bet the Chevrolet brothers could have never dreamed that someday their names would be on creations like these.
You know, this is a very equal matchup. Vandergrift ran a 6.97 in the second round, slowed to a 7.03. Cannon in the onset car ran a 6.99 and slowed to a 7.01.
Cars come to the line. Vandergrift stages. Cannon will creep forward to stage. The lights are on and we are away. Good start for Scotty Cannon, but the car porpoises a little bit. Still, he keeps his foot in it and drives away.
Scotty Cannon with the best reaction time and the best TT. 7 flat at 196 mile an hour. Vandergrift slowed to a 7.06. Watch one more time. Cannon was out first with a .124 reaction time, and all he does is make the lead larger and larger.
So as we don't mislead anyone, for the record, Scotty Cannon did have the quicker reaction time over Robbie Vandergrift. We move on now to Pro Stock and the party time black Trans Am of Harold Denton, 747 cubic inches of Pontiac power. His opponent in this round, this man, Steve Williford, his engine, 747 cubic inch Pontiac, the 2 biggest engines in the class.
Well, this is the kid and the old man. Remember, this is the rookie year for Steve Williford in driving a Pro Stock race car, whereas Harold Denton has been driving Pro Stockers almost since the class was invented.
Denton is staged in the near lane. Williford is staged. Williford looks like he got a great start, but he red lights. Just when he needed a great reaction time, Steve Williford tried to jump the tree on Harold Denton, and he fouls.
Denton wins with a 7.33, 188 miles per hour. Let's look one more time at that red light start. It's unusual. Williford actually raises the car up out of the lights. Now watch Williford's side of the lane. You see the ambers come on. Look for the red light and watch the front end of the car not move forward, but rather race straight up out of the beams and then begin moving forward to turn on the red light. An unusual red light situation, handing Harold Denton the win.
We will move on to the final in alcohol funny cars, matching a petroleum-based alcohol machine of Terry Mullins up against this man, the defending class champion, Mark Thomas from Louisville, Ohio, with that corn-distilled, ethanol-powered alcohol funny car.
Terry Mullins from Oak Ridge, Tennessee, near Knoxville, in a 91 Cutlass body car with 540 cubic inches of Keith Black power against Thomas's Dodge Daytona body car at only 526 cubic inches of Keith Black power.
There's Mark Thomas with that big white number 1 on the side, symbolic of the class champion. Up come the RPMs. Alcohol burns very cool, and the cars can run at high RPM for some time without overheating. They are staged and away. Looks like Terry Mullins got the jump. Thomas is bouncing up and down, but he keeps his foot in it. What a race!
Very close at the top end. It is Mark Thomas, 6.29, 224 miles per hour. Look at the whole shot by Terry Mullins, a 0.66 reaction time to Thomas's .122. As they get the half track now, they're dead even. But you see Thomas pull ahead with the higher mile-an-hour charge to take the race by about 2 feet at top end. We'll look one more time at a frame by frame, and you can see more clearly how much Thomas won this race by.
And so Mark Thomas picks up the victory in pursuit of defending his IHRA Alcohol Funny Car World Championship. His crew absolutely bonkers back at the starting line, as drag racing crews typically are. After all of that work, they've got a victory to show for it. As the sun dips low over Thunder Valley, let's take a look at the points in the wake of today's Spring Nationals. Ted?
Well, King Kenny out on top by 300 points. Snow moved into second place with the victory today. Tommy Johnson Jr. in a solid third place. In Pro Stock, it's a war, only 5 points between first and second place. And in Pro Modified, Scotty Canna with about a 200-point lead over Stroop. Ronnie Sox in third. Larry Dobbs with a lead over Mark Thomas, who makes a move to second.
Drag racing is brought